Bro, they just killed somebody. They just killed somebody right here. The cops. And the cops just killed somebody. And I recorded it. Oh my god, they're shooting him! Mom! Bro, they just killed somebody. They just killed somebody.
The video shows that the child wanted to make a phone call, but was stopped by the teacher when he tried to leave. Officer Anthony Dupree grabbed the child's neck, which caused him to fall to the ground. He took off his glasses and placed them on the table, then repeatedly struck the student on the floor. He took the intercom and called another officer, Dan Cipriano. Anthony lifted the student and threw him to the ground with force again, then pressed him against the floor until Dan arrived and handcuffed him. Afterward, Dan threw him against the desk and then took him out of the office. The other teachers only watched from a distance. Nobody helped the child. Afterward, they even put on gloves to clean the marks. It is said that the child only had a conflict with his classmates and wanted to call his parents to go home. The parents said that this caused irreparable psychological trauma. Shortly after, they took the officers to court, but they only received a 2-month suspension. What punishment do you think they should receive?
You aren't a victim. You pretend and masquerade to be. And that's what we're sick of.
No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't pretend to masquerade.
In fact, black Americans receive 25% of the welfare. That 1/3 of them go to prison. Isn't that reparations? They're getting stuff paid.
How is prison reparations?
Well, let's see.
Say?
A prisoner on average is $80,000 a year to the taxpayer. Sounds like reparations to me. 3 years, that's over $250K.
So locking up black people is a form of reparations. You really gonna say that shit on a national platform with 12 million?
No, what I'm saying is 1 in 3. What I'm saying is 1 in 3 black men end up in prison.
Is that reparations though, or is that proof
if the
proof that black people are victims of the very same government that you're saying is not oppressive?
Oh, again, you're a victim.
No, historically, so can we fact check this, please? Who has a higher conviction rate for false crimes, blacks or whites? Now that's something
probably whites.
I'll fact check it.
Please.
Who has a higher conviction rate?
That's not
false crimes, black or white people. Let's see this. You think it's whites?
Who's more falsely convicted? That would be the
falsely convicted, probably blacks.
And they're falsely convicted and thrown in jail, which
black people are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder than white people.
And I just said that, right?
Well, zippity do fucking da. So now that's a current piece of where black brothers and sisters are still victims of a racially systemic society. So that's a racially sick society.
So you think it's all racist fault for locking up black people? There's nothing on the black population for committing crimes.
There's a lot on the black.
Why does 6% of the nation, because 13% are black Americans, 6% are male, commit 50% of the violent crimes?
It's funny, I posted a couple TikToks criticizing black people for being so violent, considering the fact that they only make up 13% of the population, yet commit over 50% of our violent crimes.
White men are 28% of the population, but commit 80% of mass shootings, 75% of child pornography, 99% assassinations, 57% of rape, commit 67 to 70% of pedophilia, commit 85% of the serial unaliving, commit 70% of sex offenders, commit 61% of assault, commit 70% of sexual crimes against animals, commit 70 to 80% of crimes against family members. These white conservative men use the same white supremacy talking points. 1350, we commit half of the crime. They've been using that since 2024 or 2023. White Christian men says black people are so violent.
It's funny, I posted a couple TikToks criticizing black people for being so violent, considering the fact that they only make up 13% of the population, yet commit over 50% of our violent crimes.
White men are 28% of the population, but commit 80% of mass shootings, 75% of child pornography, 99% assassinations, 57% of rape, commit 67 to 70% of pedophilia, commit 85% of the serial unaliving, commit 70% of sex offenders, commit 61% of assault, commit 70% of sexual crimes against animals, commit 70 to 80% of crimes against family members. These white conservative men use the same white supremacy talking points. 1350, we commit half of the crime. They've been using that since 2024 24 for 2023.
We're sitting here letting white people tell us who's the main perpetrator of crimes that happen in this country. Y'all literally come from a long line of disgusting people. Your granddaddy used to grape black male slaves in front of their black wives for fun and make them watch. That type of hate does nothing but get passed down from generation to generation. Police officers literally still go to Fred Hampton's gravesite and shoot it up every year with no consequences. Y'all have unalived millions of colored people with no repercussions at all. Don't forget, y'all come from people like white that. Culture is formed in savagery. I also said there isn't a place on God's green earth that they haven't come there and decimated the native inhabitants. There isn't a place. They're murderous savages. That's their culture. They call it conquest. We call it savagery. This is broad history. This is the history of white cultures. When they have the intention to invent a weapon, they don't just invent a weapon that can harm an enemy in one-to-one combat. No. They invent bombs that can decimate entire populations. They invent viruses like smallpox that they spread amongst unvaccinated Native Americans and then decimate their populations. And therefore the Americans, have got a native population which is less than the settler population in certain countries like Argentina. I mean, even a country like Brazil, yes, obviously there are still some native inhabitants there, but their population is less than those who were brought in from Africa as slaves, as well as those who came in as European settlers in the colonial times. So the culture of white people throughout white history, even to this very date, is that of savagery. It's that of inhumane behavior that is normalized to the point where they feel like they're entitled to behave like that. White culture is formed in savagery.